Have you ever noticed that cozy games for men are very different from cozy games for women? For example, Car Mechanic, Farming Simulator, or Animal Crossing and The Sims? Why is that, and should we actually differentiate? Let's talk about it. The gaming era started when people wanted to make games for themselves. And sadly, at the beginning, mostly men were game developers, so a lot of men tried to make games for men. So every game was targeted mostly for men until just recently. But as the sale numbers reached a sort of maximum and games were getting bigger and bigger, the bigger studios tried to find a way to increase their audience. They suddenly found out from a few key examples that, oh my god, women play games too. And a lot of games try to womanize their games, only add female characters, maybe the main character became female, but didn't actually try to make a game, so the core game mechanics, for women itself. That's obviously a good step in the right direction because most games just had male bodies. An example would be Battlefield, which was a long time just male people. But in our society, women are taught differently than men and have different values, and so they value different kinds of games and different content that they consume. And then were these games that were so successful that the games industry saw this and were kind of baffled, I think. For example, Sims and Sims 3 and 4 games especially were so popular and more popular for women than for men that they changed and tried to make the game more for women. And also Animal Crossing on Nintendo was one of the biggest hits, and I think the previous game were kind of left out and never talked about that much in my experience because they were only for these console games, for these mobile games. So for a long time, women were seen as only people that played mobile games or maybe on a small console like a Nintendo DS or 3DS, for example, or on their smartphone. And men obviously play the cool games. They are core gamers, play on console, play on PC. But that's obviously not true, as we saw when Switch arrived and we had a new Animal Crossing, I think New Horizons, and a lot of people played Animal Crossing and a lot of women played Animal Crossing, and Animal Crossing sold millions and millions of copies. And that was the first time a lot of game studios saw, I think, that there's a big market of women that want to play games and didn't care about it before. So in recent years and also with COVID, some parts of the gaming industry got mixed around, a lot of layoffs happened and new studios started to arise. And women that loved these few games that were now out and actual pretty games started to come more and more into the games area and became game devs and founded new game studios. So these new studios were pretty lucky, I think, because COVID happened, obviously, we know that, and a lot of people were stuck at home. They needed something to do. There weren't a lot of movies around because movies couldn't be done during COVID that easily, but games were done from indie studios, so pretty much remotely. So these small companies, they had a big chance to get big actually. And now we have lots of cozy games that are targeted for women only and not for men, or like primarily for women. And we actually see that the bigger games now target more and more like all audiences. We see that with Battlefield or with Need for Speed, where a lot of characters are exchanged and they try to adapt to an all audience, which is obviously hitting a nerve with men. They are pretty proud that they are the Battlefield guys and the Need for Speed guys. So there's a lot of hate for these newer games that try to do something different. For example, at first there was a female character on a new Battlefield and everyone said, well, women didn't fight in World War I, I think it was, which is not true, by the way. Yeah, but that created a little bit of a stir and created a more division in the cozy games area. Obviously, cozy games in general were pretty popular because the world seems to be getting more and more, well, worse, which is actually not the case if you see like statistics, but it seems that way. So game developers always try to push it a little bit and have something against the bad things that you have in real life and escape in the virtual world. So we have a lot of cozy games now, but they are always split in two areas. But the question is, why do we actually split cozy games between men and women? And should we actually split cozy games like that? I think the reason for it is just the gamers that are trying to hold on their old memories and their old games that are always like they used to be. So men generally, I think, feel that they have to play games that fit their character or their social character, actually, like their outside character. For example, it has to be a strong game, a hardcore simulation game. And on the other side, women are taught to be peaceful and nice and calm and maybe decorate a little bit more than men. So they play games that the society thinks that women should do. For example, decoration, cooking, farming. And that creates a big problem because we tell ourselves more and more that our society is this binary thing, that men can only do this and women can only do that. And if we make games and if we play only these games, then we create this diversion only more. And if we actually look at who's playing which game, then we can see that everyone played Animal Crossing when it came out. Everyone played Stardew Valley when it came out. And on the other side, games that are maybe targeted more towards men, like shooter games, for example, MOBA games, Overwatch is a good example, are not just played by men, they are played by everyone. And newer games, I think, actually are trying to get over this by stopping how they see the target audience, which is a big thing in game development. We always try to picture a person that would play our games. In the past, it just began with the gender. So is it female, is it male, and then you had like a category. And now that's changed a little bit. Now we focus more on what's the thing that the people want from games. So is it more a creativity game? Is it more a complex game, a simulation game? And we actually have to try really hard to leave out that gender thing. And newer games actually try this to do a little bit differently. So target audience now becomes more of a, what does the player actually want to do? So do they want to be creative? Do they want to decorate things? Do they want to have a calm and peaceful environment and cozy space? But we only look at like what they actually want and not, well, men want to do car mechanics, so we do a car mechanic game. Let me know in the comments, did you play a game recently that you would now in hindsight say, well, I think the game is probably made for women or for men and I'm the other type, or an underrepresented group, obviously. So my advice is check out different games than the algorithms try to tell you. Obviously, these stores are so optimized and try to give you the game that fits you and your bubble. But if you break out of the bubble, then maybe you find a game that is so different but you actually like, and maybe find out something more about yourself actually. Let's all make games a little bit more for everyone, and if you like that video, then a thumbs up or a subscribe would be so nice. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers this year or next year. Let's see. And otherwise, have a nice day and goodbye! Animals. Hello.